Our first project is a silver lantern. I'm going to be using two different spray paints. This one is in a hammered silver and the other is in a flat black. This is a candle stand from Dollar Tree. You can use any one you would like. I liked this one with the square bottom. And this is a little $1.25 little lantern from Dollar Tree. Here's that info. I think it is a Christmas item, but you know, there's nothing that screams Christmas on there. Got little snowflakes on it. I'll use something to sand with and a tiny screwdriver for the batteries. We're going to take our little hanger off, of course, or our little tag, and then I'm just going to use my sander to go around all of this shiny plastic and scuff it up a little bit. This is just going to help give a little bit of grip when we put the spray paint on. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. So I'm doing it in both directions, back and forth, just to kind of give it a little, you know, like I said, rough it up a little bit. It's easier to stick to a roughed up surface than it is to a shiny surface. All right, and then you're going to wipe the dust off. And then I'm just going to use that same screwdriver to pop the top off of this little lantern. It's a cute enough lantern all by itself, but it still does have that white plastic appearance. You know, you could always do like a white flat spray paint. Maybe you would like something like that or a different color. But for a snowflake and winter theme, I thought the silver would be perfect. I'm going to cover up the inside piece. I tried to unscrew that whole bottom panel to pop it out. I thought maybe the battery pack with the light would just pop out. Did not work for me. So we're just going to roll with it. I'm going to use a little bit of tape to go over the entire part of the flame for this little flameless candle and cover that up because we're going to be spray painting this and we don't want to get the spray paint all over that little wick. I cannot talk, y'all. If anybody knows anything about astrology, we are in Mercury retrograde and it is put in my brain in reverse. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm going to go over here and just sand all of this one off too, just like we did on the other part. And then the little hanger piece too, and it easily will pop out to get next to the top part of that and all over the ring. Just going to go on the inside too. If you don't have a micro sander, you can just grab like a little emery board or something and that'll work perfectly fine. I'm going to cover up my battery pack because I don't want it to be gummed up with that spray paint where I can't get it open or where it might interfere with the batteries doing their correct job. So just going to cover it up and protect that section and the part with the screw on it. And I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to spray paint this with this beautiful silver paint. I'm going to grab the bottom and I'm going to be flipping this over so that that part is actually the top. I'm going to spray paint that black. I'm also going to take some Velcro pieces because this is how we're going to attach the lantern to the candle holder. So we can take it off to turn the light on and then put it back on. I'm going to put the correct sides together and then I'm going to cut into 4 pieces. So there's one piece. It's actually going to be 3 cuts, but it makes 4 little sections for each corner of the square. You can get little dots. I believe you can still get them at Dollar Tree. Now we're going to spray paint it. Here is the dried piece. This is 2 coats. I sprayed one upside down, and then I flipped it over and sprayed it the other way. So we got the inside and the outside. Then I'll put the clip right back in the top. Just pops in. And take the tape off of the inside. And to me, that just looks so much more high-end. Already it looks more high-end. I'll take all of this off the bottom. Take that little screw out. Now you can get the little, I think they're eyeglass repair kits, and use the screwdriver out of there if you would like to get your pieces out. I'm not even entirely sure where I got these little tiny screwdrivers from. I've had them a long time. And then these take 2 AAAs. Thank you so much for stopping by, whatever brought you here today. If I was recommended, if somebody shared it with you, I'm still glad to have you here, and I would love it if you would consider subscribing to the channel. I'm always going to try to bring you something that's a little bit outside of the box. but beautiful, and that I hope brings you plenty of inspiration to do in your own home. And we use Dollar Tree things, we use Temu things, we use thrifted things, inexpensive clearance finds, all kinds of stuff. I've even been known to take things out of my house that it's just not my style anymore and change it up. Now I've put these pieces down on the corners and I'm going to pull them off. Yes, you could line these up neatly if you want, but you will not see it underneath, so it really doesn't matter. Now be sure before you press it down, because they have adhesive on the back, that you get that right where it needs to be, and then you can sort of press it into place. I was surprised that the plastic held up for me pushing on it as roughly as I did. It did fine. Now I'm trying to line these back up. There are little notches in there, and there are little holes that you slip those notches through. So I just wanted to make sure that I got them in the right place to put those back on correctly, because we won't need to do anything else as far as the paint goes. So we can reassemble this. And this is what it's going to look like. You can take it off, just pop it off your Velcro, turn that on, pop it right back on there for your lantern. So this is just a very simple, easy way that you can do something that to me makes it look so much more high-end. But I made a swag out of a couple of pieces of leftover silver greenery, some mesh looking bow antler, some little sticker wood snowflakes, and I think I used a pipe cleaner and put that right on top. Now, of course, I showed y'all how to make that, but somehow I know that the camera ate the footage. Yeah, so that happens. Again, is it something that's just in the stars? Is it just me going nuts during the holiday season? One can't be too sure either way. I appreciate you understanding. I think it turned out cute though. What do you think? The snowflake swag is next. So we've got some ribbon here. I didn't use the thin white ribbon. You could, but I didn't. And then I used this ribbon that I got on clearance. And this is a ribbon that I found at the thrift store. Yes, I found it at the Goodwill bins. Big roll of it. Really pretty. I've got 2 Dollar Tree trees. That's what makes this a Dollar Tree item. We're going to use some of these beautiful zip ties. And then I'm also going to use white chenille stems and then some snowflakes. Now, my snowflakes were thrifted, but you can buy something similar at Dollar Tree and do pretty much the same thing that I'm doing. In fact, these are almost like a off-white or a cream color, and you can get the ones that are white or iridescent or glittery at Dollar Tree. Cut the hangers off. Now we're going to put the 2 trees down. I've already done this. I put them stem to stem, used 2 zip ties to attach them together, and then fluffed it by putting all of the pieces out to the sides. I'm showing you how I did that. You can curl the long pieces under on the tips, because those long pieces really don't hold anything, but they work great for a swag because you can put a little something longer on the ends, and that makes it great. Do you see how big it is when you do it this way? All right. Now I'm going to grab my ribbon. I'm going to do the blue one. It's the darker one. We're going to put that on the underneath, and I'm going to go ahead and start it with the dovetail. I want a crisp end, so I'm giving it a second cut because it looked a little squarish. I'm going to bunch up about 3 inches down, go up to the top side, and then I'm just going to twist those short branches right over that section. I want to make sure that my ribbon overhangs, because you attempt to widen out the swag a little bit by maybe fooling the eye just a little bit. You can use that ribbon to help do that, give it a little bit more of an appearance of a bigger piece. So now we're going to take the other piece and we're going to put that right on top of it. And no, you didn't have to twist that in there first if you didn't want to. Certainly did not have to do that. Now for the top and the bottom, you don't necessarily have to use anything else but the branches to hold them down. But as you go, it becomes a little more hard to just twist the end onto the ribbon, because you have slack all in the rest of that little stem or the little branchy part that comes out. If you don't understand what I'm saying, and you try to do it that way anyhow, you will quickly learn why I say just don't do it that way. Spare yourself the time and energy. Seems like it would be simple. No, it's not going to give you the hold that you need. So I'm just going to show you how to do it with a zip tie, and then I'll show you how to do it with a piece of a chenille stem. I'm going to go to the outer, about 1 inch from the end of the branch, and put that on here. I'm not going to be measuring that because I just want to give it a little bit of a lift or a bubble, just a little bit, and I can do that by eye. I'm going to try to be sure that as I go from side to side with this, that the amount of slack in that ribbon is about the same amount, so it stands out about the same amount from the body of this swag. So I'm checking to make sure that they're about the same size. I'll see how close I want these to be, and this is just per taste. You know, the more ribbon you want to use, fine. If you've got a lot of ribbon, you can do it this way. If you only have a little bit, then stretch out your layers a little bit. I'm about 1 inch from the end. I'm using the zip tie, and I'm going to tighten it down on there. And then I will cut off my excess. These are thin enough that I can cut them with scissors without a problem. Then I'll just cut these little pipe cleaners. Yep. Cut those into 4 pieces. We're going to stretch our money by doing that too. And I'll show you how to use those. Same process here. We're going back to the other side. Right, left, right, left. We're going to go back over to the side. We're going to go to the outside about 1 inch from that section. And we're going to use the little pipe cleaner piece. I'm going to wrap that around. If you want to attach something like an ornament, or you want to put your stars here instead of in the naked, y'all, I swear, and instead of the little naked areas, then you can do that. You can just put that pipe cleaner where the opening goes on the top, and then you can attach your little piece right to it. But I'm not going to do it that way because I'm not going to be attaching it where it attaches to the branch. I'm just going to keep going back and forth, wrapping this. Now, why am I using 2 ribbons and putting them right on top of each other, you may ask yourself? Because we are going to be separating these ribbons. We're going to be pulling them apart. So you're going to see both ribbons. But as you put it on, it's easier just to keep them lined up so you get the same amount going from side to side. But if you have a better way of doing it, you know a better way to do it, you want whatever, then you can do it whichever way that you like. And by all means, if you've got an easier way or a tip that it can be done that you would like to share with everybody who's watching, that would be wonderful. We get a lot of really nice, helpful comments and tips in the comment section, and that's always really good to help one another and support one another on our crafting journey. Speaking of journeys, Crafty Cruise Getaway is coming up in February, and I am just too excited to go on a vacation and meet everybody. What about y'all? I can't wait. I love going to Mexico, and I love the Crafty Cruise Getaway. So as I'm working, I need to explain to y'all a couple of things that are not related to making this swag. But you can watch what I'm doing. You know what I'm doing now. I want to catch y'all up on a few things that have been going on in my personal life, because I know some of y'all realize that I have not been on a set schedule and my videos are bouncing all over the place, and sometimes you don't see me, and have not been very good about keeping up and keeping y'all posted with what's going on. So let me just tell you that my divorce is final. I have not moved yet. The move is still in the future, but it is going to be after the beginning of the first year, because I have to have my tax records and all that to determine how much of a loan I can get to buy a house. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on. In the meantime, we have had Halloween, kids sick back to back, November, trying to get shopping done. I'm not done with my Christmas shopping yet. I didn't get as many Christmas videos out as I wanted to. And then now I'm trying to work on winter stuff. At this point, I cannot promise 2 videos a week on this channel. I do have a haul video coming up, and I do have 2 videos coming up on Forever Fall Home, which is my other channel, and you can find the link in the description box. And you'll hear more about what's been going on in my life on that channel. So I just wanted to catch y'all up, okay? Now you see the wreath is all together. We've parted the beautiful ribbon there. And if you want to alternate the dark and the light and the dark and the light. You can do that, or you can just do it randomly. Totally up to you. I'm going to go again with these little stems. I'm going to cut these into 4 pieces again, because this is what we're going to use to put these snowflakes down. The snowflakes are going to be in the air quotes, naked, air quote, spots. So wherever your ribbons do not corner, that's where you're going to put one of your snowflakes. The further out on the branch that you put it, the wider it's going to make your little swag be. You're just extending it from side to side. So I'm going in each of those places, and I'm just sort of making like a little horseshoe or hairpin and going over that right through the shape of that snowflake and the branch that is underneath it, and twisting it on just like I twisted on the ribbon. Now the beauty of that is, because these little branches that come off of these trees, they are wired, you can actually bend these a little bit so that they're not laying flat. You can raise them a little bit, you can bend them at an angle, and it gives it a little bit of a different look and a little more dimension. And you know, we like that in our crafts. You hear us crafters saying that a whole lot. We like that. By the way, I want y'all to help me congratulate my sister, Tammy from Tales from an Empty Nest. Her YouTube channel, oh my goodness, she does recipes and cooking and all that. The girl works her tail off. She's got 3 jobs, and her channel is rocketing. She is doing so well. I'm so tickled for her and so very proud of my little sister. I can't even tell you how big and happy it makes my heart. And everything that y'all do, and y'all have successes, and you tell me about them, and you share your personal stories, all of that matters to me. Just because you're not seeing me as much right now, which in the future you will be, but at this point I'm kind of, got things going on. All of those things matter to me, and I enjoy that. And I like hearing about your family and your life and what's going on, and seeing the things that you create. Those things are important to me. None of that has changed, None of that's changed. I've just been super busy, but I know y'all know, and you're still here, and you understand, and you still support me and follow me and pray for me and send me good vibes, and I appreciate that. All right. Got my little dovetail on the bottom, a little dovetail on the top. See how I pulled that branch back down? I didn't cut it off because it's the perfect place to extend that swag and put a snowflake right on the end of it. I really like that bluish gray, or that denim, sort of a denim color of that ribbon that's on the underneath side. It's really pretty. Now, if you don't like ribbons, you could definitely just add your little snowflake at the top, like I'm doing right now, and call it a day. You could just put a little pipe cleaner on the back, make you a hanger, and just put it on your door or on your wall or in your dining room, however you want to do it, and leave it just like that. Or you could use it as a centerpiece on your table and just lay it in the middle of your table if you wanted to. If you don't, and you want to do a little something extra, I'm going to show you how to make a bow. I am a girl from the South. We're going to make a bow. But like I said, you can certainly leave that off if that's not something that brings joy into your home and your heart. This is an 18-inch ruler, and I am taking 18-inch pieces of ribbon. I'm just going to cut that point off, and now I am going to dovetail each one. You're just going to cut a slant from the fabric to the wire, cut upward at a slant from the fabric to the wire, and we're going to do that on each one of these. There we go again. And one more time for all the people in the back. There you go. So we're going to be making 3 of that blue and 3 of that white in 18-inch pieces. We're going to use either a Chanel stem, or we're going to use a zip tie. I'm going to use a zip tie. Now I'm going to show you how to make this funky bow, but it's going to have, you see, it's in a third. Instead of being tail to tail, it's going to be the tail halfway up, a third of the way up when it's folded over. And then we're going to just pleat it together and put it right there in your hand. Your hand is going to be a clamp. You're going to hold that thumb and that forefinger together. You're not moving it. You're going to use your other hand to do the work, and your other fingers on that same clip hand to kind of help you bunch it up. You can still, by holding it tightly, you can still pull a little bit to make sure that your tails are even, that your loops are even on the top. The real thing is to get the loops even. I'm just showing you that it's in thirds, and you can fold it to check it that way too. Or you can measure everything if you would like. You know, if you've got a mat down there and you want to measure it, you can, but I want to show you that if you don't have it, you can still make this pretty bow. I do have bow videos with a bunch of different types of bows. I also have a bow maker video. I have all kinds of videos. I have hundreds and hundreds, over 400 videos with just about anything you can imagine. All kinds of stuff. So you can just check out my playlist if you want to see more about what's going on over here on Making It My Own DIY. Okay, now I've checked all the loops on the bow to make sure that all of my loops are about the same size. I'm going to use my thumb to hold the end of that. I'm going to not have my glasses on, so it takes more than one try to get that in that hole. I'm going to cinch it up tight. And then ignore the fact that you see another one in there. I was trying to do something and the experiment failed, so we're just going to ignore the other piece hanging out. I'm going to flip it upside down, and we're going to put all the pretty sides down on the table. So flip it. These are wired. They will stay where you put them. You just have to twist them. Twist them, put them down, put them in place. I'll flip it over. And then you can start fluffing at the bow. You really don't have to fluff your bow if you don't want to until you have it placed, because, you know, I fluff it in my hand, I fluff it on the table, then I put it on the thing, then I fluff it again, then I put the hanger on there, then I fluff it again. Y'all know how I do. See, I'm just going to pull that out. Decided not to use that for what I thought I was going to use it for, just pulled it out. So now we have 3 pretty loops on the top, and, well, 3 white, and then 3 of the bluish gray color on there as well. 6 loops on that bow. And I'm going to put this up here. I've decided that this will be the top. Although essentially they're the same thing, top and bottom. It's just whichever piece you want to be the top, it can be your top. I'm going to take the pipe cleaner and just wrap it around where the head of the bow is, where all the loops are. And give it a couple of twists to hold it tight. And then I'll wrap it around the same stem that is holding that snowflake on the top. I left the whole pipe cleaner on here because I'm going to be using this to make our hanger too, and I'll show you how I do that. Pretty simple. Anybody can do it. You really can. In fact, you probably already know how. And then I'll fluff again. Now for me, I like to alternate the tails of the bow. So I've got the blue and then the white and then the blue and then the white and the blue and the white. I'm going to turn it around just so I can handle it a little bit better because it's large and it's trying to hang off the table. It's a pretty big piece. It's about probably 2 feet long, I would think. And then I can see my bow at a different angle from here, so I'll go ahead and adjust all of those little loops on the bow as well. I think the size of this bow is really pretty, and it really fits well with the length of this swag and the width of the swag as well. Cute. You could do 2 of these and put them on double doors outside or on columns. Really easy. So now we're going to make the little hanger, and I'm just going to twist it around itself. That way the little ends are not poking out and scratching the door or the wood. And that's what it's going to look like. And then I have just hung that here on the back of my chair ladder so you can see what it looks like. And then once we get a good look at this swag, I'm going to show you what it looks like with the lantern so that you could use these 2 as a set. They really complement each other. The colors look nice together. Even had me thinking that, you know, you could probably hang this on your fireplace and then put the little lantern beside it. Did you see your superpower today? I can and I will. And I want you to keep that in mind because I believe in you and I know that you can.
A winter ladder.
I have some of these snowy willow picks from Dollar Tree, some snowy picks that I don't know where I got them from, and these two little cardinals. They have a little bit of a different position and they came from Dollar General. Some zip ties and a wooden ladder that I thrifted. That wooden ladder is about 30 inches long. I'll start this very easy project by putting down one willow pick. I'm leaving the entire thing together, not cutting it apart. Surprise, surprise, same here. Whole pick. This is such an easy project if you've got a ladder. So easy. Gonna use a zip tie, go around the back, pull it through till it's tight, and it's sitting right on the front facing of the ladder. You can cut off that extra, and then we're gonna do the same thing in the opposite direction, almost like making a swag. So I'm just gonna kind of feed this up through here, and then we'll add the next snowy pine pick right on top with another zip tie. You can get zip ties from Dollar Tree, and you can get them from lots of different stores. I'm gonna fluff out these willow branches under here just a little bit, just to kind of splay them out, give it a little more dimension, because we love dimension, don't we? We don't want anything flat. We want something to be interesting to the eye. I'm gonna do the same thing up top, just gonna kind of move it around a little. Then I'm gonna place my birds on the ladder. They're taking a little shelter on the ladder. So I think I want this one in the centerpiece, or well, it's not the center rung, but I'm gonna put it in the center of this step on the ladder. Hold it there for a minute until it is firmly attached. Now I'm using Gorilla Glue here, so you wanna use something that's got some strong bonding so it doesn't come off. Ideally, I would like to be able to put this on my porch or hang it on my porch, so I want something that's not going to come apart in the elements. I'm going to put this one right here and turn him just a little bit. So the opening there, I left open in case I wanted to do something different, but I decided another pick here would be the perfect thing. So I just cut the end off, laid it kind of sideways, and I'm just going to zip tie that down right in the middle. Now, of course, if you want to put some snow on the steps, you can certainly put some snow on each of the little steps of the ladder. My husband suggested that after the fact, and yes, that would be the perfect thing to do, is to add some snow to those steps. But whatever you want to do, you can make it easy. I think this looks totally fine as it is, but that's up to you to make it your own. Whatever you like, go ahead and do it. You can add some berries in here. You can use a little hot glue if things are getting out of control. You could put a nest in there. However you like it, it's going to be the perfect way to bring you some joy. The next project is going to be Frosty's hat. I thrifted this little basket weave hat. I don't know. It's like a bluish black color, and we're going to just deconstruct it because I like the bones of it, but we're going to change it a bit. So just remember what it looks like now. I'm going to cut the hat band off, and when I pull the glue, it does leave a little spot there, but that doesn't matter. It has quite a bit of dust on it, so when I do baskets and wreaths that are dusty, I just take a big brush and just brush at it, and it gets the dust off of it, and you wouldn't believe the dust that falls off. Look at this table. Look at all that. That came out of that hat. And of course, the one little strand of paintbrush. Okay, so I saved styrofoam. This came in a table box. I'm going to use my little knife from Dollar Tree, my styrofoam pool noodle cutter. It works really good. I thought at first, that is so gimmicky, but it really does work nicely. I'm going to cut enough foam to put in the bottom. It's not quite tall enough, but I got it the width that I want it, but it needs to be taller so that it sits right at the top. And I was making sure also that you can't see that foam through the weave. So I'm just going to keep kind of chopping away until I get the right, thickness to go on top of that. And then I'll fill in on the sides with a little bit of foam. You don't have to do this neatly. It's not important because this is going to be covered up with something else. So it's totally fine. A little hot glue, you can put that together and then shove some pieces inside. It's nice and tight. Didn't even have to glue it. So I'm going to take a piece of this, I think it's like a snow sheet. You know, you use it for decorations. I'm going to cut a circle out of it that will fit the size of the top of the hat. You can flip your hat upside down if you find something like it, and trace on it, and then trim it out that way if you would like. I'm going to use a little bit of hot glue right on the edge here to put that snow down, because this top of the hat is going to have like a snowy appearance. And you could use a white piece of felt maybe for this. The thing that you would need to make sure of is that the weave is not too thick that you can't puncture a hole, because we're going to be placing florals in here, and you want to make sure that you can actually get the wires from your floral down in here. If you can't though, you can always get like a metal skewer or something and poke the hole in it, and then put your greenery in it with a little hot glue. So there's some options for you. So I have this piece of thrifted garland. It's got like a silvery glistening kind of look. It's very mellow though, not really loud. I'm going to pull those pieces off of the garland, and then I'm going to cut down a piece of ribbon because I want to give him his hat band back, but I don't want it to be that traditional plaid. So I'm going to use some of my wax here, antiquing wax, and then brush it onto this black. When you add this brown on top of this black, it gives it a warmer toned black. And for my decor, it just gives it a better look. This is not necessarily to age it, to make it look aged. It's just to give it more of a rustic look, more of a brown toned black or a warm toned black. You see, it does make a difference. I don't have to do the bottom. No one's going to see it. And you're just going to continue all the way around with this until you get all of your color covered up. You can get little snowman hats lots of different places, and you could certainly feel free to use something that came from St. Patrick's Day maybe, or a different holiday, a New Year's. You can get hats or whatever. You could use something like that if you wanted to. So just because you don't have the exact same thing is what I'm saying, you can kind of apply it to what you're seeing here on a different scale. So I'm going to wrap this hat band around. I want that threaded side up and the rough side down so that you won't see it. All we'll see is the finished product, which will be the nice neat trim on the top. And so now he has his hat band back. And I'm going to start adding down this greenery. I'm just going to use some hot glue. You can see in here, I don't know if it's because it's garland, that it, like one side of the greenery actually is sort of flat and the other side is more elevated. So I'm going to flip it so that the flat side goes down against the brim of the hat, because that's where we're gluing it, to the brim of the hat, not to the tall part of the hat. Lord, anatomy of a hat. I have no idea what the pieces are. Okay, so what I'm doing is adding like 2 and then 1, then 2 and then 1, and I'm going back and forth. It gives it a little bit of variety, and it doesn't make everything look so matchy. It's rustic, it's rustic, it's woodland, it's winter wonderland. We want to give it that movement and that feel of being kind of wild and out in nature. And so we're almost done with this. And I encourage you to use some leftover picks for this. You don't have to use all the same thing. Use whatever leftovers you have from Christmas and tuck those in there. Can you imagine some of that fern in there? That would be really pretty too. But I'm using what I have, like I said, to make these winter wonderland pieces. And these are some of the pine cones that came in there. They also have a little silver on them. If you get these pine cones on projects and you want to take them off and reuse them, it's just a piece of wire wrapped on the inside. You just cut it and then untwist it. Very easy. It's just looped around it one time and then twisted, and then that's how it's put on the decorations that you might thrift. So I'm going to use hot glue. I don't want those wires scratching up my table. I'm going to use the biggest of 3, put it down first, then I'm going to take the medium size one and put it down next, kind of right beside it. And I pick these up and look at it before I actually glue it, so I know in mind how I want it to be. It's a lot easier that way than having to go back and fix it. So since I've run out of brim over here, I just put the glue in the little the sides of the pine cone and then stuck it into the sides of the other one. It fits like a puzzle. It's perfect. Okay, so now we're going to start with the top part of it, and then I'll go kind of back and forth on the top, on the sides. You'll see how that's going to work. These little pigs look like little greenery trees to me, so I'm just using them as trees. I'm just picking some pretty ones that have a good shape, that have that kind of a teardrop shape to put there. I'm going to use a little bit of that willow over there near the pine cones. That's going to be almost like the feather in the hat. Then I'm going to make a bird nest. So I'm going to take some of this berry garland, I guess is what it's called, from Dollar Tree. You can get this all the time and in a bunch of different colors. Usually the colors go by season, so you'll get more orange like in the fall, and then the reds and silver and stuff like that you'll get closer to winter time or Christmas time. So all I'm doing is start off in the middle with just 2 loops, and then I'm going to expand the loop outward like a swirl. So the diameter is going to get larger and larger as I go round and around. And I know this looks boring, but there's method to the madness. See, I want this to be, I'm pushing upward, and I want it to be in that shape of a nest. Around and around, and then you can just twist the tail around and then manipulate the little strands so that you get it into the right shape that you like. And I'll put it right there. It's a good place for it. I'm going to use some of these floral pins and just push these down into the snow and the foam, and it goes in there perfectly. And you can get those little floral pins any place I think that you can find crafting supplies. I did not get mine from Dollar Tree. Mine were thrifted, but I know you can get them pretty much anywhere, and I can't imagine they would cost that much money. But they are very handy to have for some projects. So now the bird, it's actually a bell, but his bell is broken. He is glued down. We got a little cardinal right there in his nest, or her nest, whichever one. Then you can begin to cut your picks apart. You don't have to leave your picks in one piece. Cut them into pieces to suit what it is you need. So now these look like little trees. All the leaves are gone for the winter time, and they're just branches sticking up there with a little bit of snow on them. And I think that texturally it really does something to the piece, because it's more of a woody look, and then you've got the little trees beside it, and they're so full and green and lush, and it just reminds me of wintertime. So in these little bags of assorted scatter you can get from Dollar Tree, there are a couple of different types of things you can use. So I was just kind of digging through there to see what my options were, and I found a little strand of this white pitberry, so I decided to use it almost like a little bud branch too, and then stick it with the trees, and then another piece I put with the pine cones and our little willow feather. And then there was a little piece of pine in there. I put that in for a little bit of a different look. You know, we're in the woods, you don't just have 2 types of trees. There's all kinds of stuff out there. So these little, what are these? I don't know, but they look like little flowers to me, and I really like them. I think they're pretty. I'm going to add those here and there around the pine cones on the brim, and I'm also going to put them around the bird and on the platform, you know, just wherever it looks cute, wherever I feel like I need a little extra something. There's also little pine cones in there, so I'll add some of those little snowy pine cones here and there. I know, y'all, some people say I just do too much. I just kill it. I should have stopped 4 or 5 steps ago, but that is just not my nature. It isn't my nature. But I do highly recommend you do what is best for you. You can't tell people that they're doing something wrong just because that's not the way you would do it, you know? We've got to be kind, not critical. Let's be kind and supportive of everybody's crafting. Just like when you ladies send me, and gents too, if a gent's going to show me a picture of his crafts, but you ladies like to share your crafts with me, and you email them to me, and I love it, and I love looking at them, and they're all beautiful in their own way, and they're so unique because everybody does it differently. That doesn't mean they're wrong, right? It just means they're different. Different's good in my opinion. So I'm just tearing some more pieces off here and just placing them around in the greenery. I I love this piece. I love this piece, y'all. I really do. And I hope that you like it as well. The next project is the winter barn. This is another easy one. So I've got this little barn that I thrifted, kind of dusty, needs a little cleanup. And it says Celebrate It. Isn't that like a Michaels brand? I don't know. But yeah, I got it thrifted. We're going to change it up. Right now, it looks like it might be okay for summer or fall, but I'm going to change it and make this a winter thing. Consider that when you have other items in your home that you think that you can't use, but you'd really like to use, and give it some new life. Go ahead and find what you already have. And I know you can get like little barns and little buildings, little at Target Dollar Spot. You can get them at Dollar Tree all the time. Whatever you find, whatever you want to, if you want to flip something, you know, I've flipped birdhouses before that I thrifted. So just whatever's good for you. Okay, so now going on, I'm going to use this Mod Podge, paint this along all over the roof, leaving some spots thicker than other spots. I'm going to go around the bottom. I'm going to also get the edges there. You don't see that right now, but I do get the edges. And I'm going to put this on areas where frost or snow might collect. Again, this is my imagination because I live in South Alabama, so how would I know? Oh, okay, the power of TV, right? That's how I learn. That's how I learn. I watch it. I see other people. I hear other people talk about it. The fun part, we're going to take our snow mixture. Now, I just use regular old Christmas snow for this, and then table salt, plain table salt. Mix them together, and it gives it that sparkly effect. And it just looks snowy and icy to me. I do know what sleet looks like. Okay, so we're going to tap it off. You can leave it on there longer before you tap it off, and that'll give you a, you know, that'll, if it's dried, it'll hang on to that a little bit better. But for purposes of making videos for you guys, I'm just going to kind of rush through that part so that you can get the idea of what we're doing. Patting it down wherever it needs to be patted down. And I think it's cute. So far, that's good, right? Go back along, look at it. If you need to add any more, you can go ahead and add some more at this point. If you don't find it until later, you can always go back and add it then. I left a fingerprint somewhere, and I went back and fixed it toward the end, so no worries about that. See the fingerprint in the top? Yeah. So I'm going to use a wood slice, and I've put a thick layer of Mod Podge underneath, and then what you see now is the snow that I put on top, a thick layer. I'm pressing it down into there because I want this to have pretty good solid coverage. And then I'll just turn it over and tap that off. And again, you know, when you use snow, you can always put your remnants back in. So I'll take that tray, pour it back in the bag. I wanted to leave the wood edge clean, that bark edge clean. And then I can decide kind of how I would like for this to be. Now, I'm being really ginger about this because it's wet. The snow is still wet underneath and on these items, so I'm trying to show you without making a big mess. But you get the idea when it dries, right? And you certainly need to give it time to dry before you start doing anything to it. I have a strand of icicle garland that I crafted with last year that I got at the thrift store, and I always save stuff. So these are just remnants, and I'm cutting off all the short icicles and putting the large ones to the side for another project. These little short ones are going to be used with a little bit of help from hot glue, and these are going to be the icicles that are hanging off the roof line of our little barn. So I know you can't see what I'm doing, except, you know, that's what it looks like. You add a little hot glue on the top and stick it straight up into the top. I just hold it for a second. They don't weigh very much, so they attach pretty quickly. If you do not have little icicles, you don't have to put them on yours, or you can make some out of felt, or you can make some out of hot glue and a silicone mat. I've seen people do that. I've never done it, but you certainly can do that, and you can just make your own. And that would be easy to do, I think. So when I can leave them in sets of 3, I leave them in sets of 3. Sometimes I have to do just one at a time. But you see, I've got them on there. It looks cute. I think that addition really made a difference. I wish that thread wasn't in there, but it is garland, so that's how it works. All right, so if you enjoyed these projects, if you could give me a thumbs up, that is a huge help. You can always glue these pieces down if you would like to, but I'm going to leave mine alone. I'm going to take them, set them aside, let them dry, and then put them together. Here are the 3 projects. I went ahead and added a little light back there in that barn so you could see it. I think this is my favorite of the 3. Frosty's hat. Very full and lush and winter wonderland looking. And then the ladder also, and we got the cardinals, which are near and dear to my heart. It's that time of year. It's wintertime. Lots of holidays have happened in the wintertime, and we start thinking about people that and our fur babies that are not here with us anymore. And we'll go into a new year and have new experiences with new people we bring into our life. And it's just a reminder. It's just a reminder that we're never alone. The next one is a snowy owl wreath. I was inspired by this beautiful little bird from Hobby Lobby. I got him on clearance after Christmas. Very good way to save some money, but you can get birds at Dollar Tree too. This came from Dollar Tree as a mesh ribbon in white. This is a burlap unwired ribbon with stripes, and this is a wired cream color burlap ribbon. I also have some of these snowy branches, some purely snowy branches, and then some little limbs with icicles on them. This is I think it's a plate charger for the dinner table, I think. That's what it looks like, but it is a perfect wreath form, I think, in my opinion. Perfect for rustic. So I'm gonna just take my branches, and these are so well made that I don't have to do too much to them. And I like that about these branches. Already nice and full. And 2 of these branches, look how much coverage that gives on this project. Really good. I cannot remember where I got these branches from. To be honest with you, I do not remember. I'm going to use some zip ties, and I am just going to wrap it around in nice little places where I can kind of hide the zip ties. That one will be hidden later. I know you can see it right now. Because there is so much opening in the kind of the crisscross of the woody background, or viney, or whatever that is, background, I can actually stick the stems down into the weave, which makes it nice too, because I don't have to secure it down. It's stuck in there now. It'll stay right where we put it. I'm gonna hide another one of these down in there, cinch it down and clip it off. And then I am just going to fluff a little bit. They're on wired and plastic, and the good quality florals do have wired down most of the limbs, and it makes it so much easier, and it saves so much time for me. Even though I like to fluff bows and I like to kind of fool around with my projects, and you know, you got to touch everything, you got to adjust everything, but it still does, you know, in the long run, I think could save you money instead of using really thin, sparse branches, I guess. If you can find them thrifting, that's perfect. So now these, I only have 4 of these, so I'm just going to mix these in here and there. And before I get them glued down, I am just going to place them in there and see how I like them. You know, I'm going to put them in both sides and then look around at the wreath and decide how I like them and which way is going to give me kind of a congruent look on both sides. I want it to be similar, so cousins rather than sisters, right? So you just see me moving this stuff around here to make it look that way. Here's a little piece that fell off, and I'm going to glue that right over the zip tie. Then we're going to start with these icicles, and I decided to cut one little piece off of one branch, weave this one on the top. I'm going to put another one here in this area, and then the little piece that I cut off, I'm just going to add down here. Now, once you get your things where you want them, you can glue them in place. I'm going to take 18 inches of each of those ribbons I showed you and make 3 lengths of ribbon. So 3 striped, 3 white, and 3 of the mesh. And I'm going to dovetail all of them. So we're going to have 9 pieces of ribbon to make this big bow. And yes, y'all, we're gonna make a funky bow. Okay, so now I'm gonna grab this one and fold it in half, so that would be about halfway down. 9 inches would be about 4.5 inches. So that's where I'm gonna pinch it together and walk my fingers to each other and then place it right in my hand. I am not gonna be opening my hand, my right hand. I'm not gonna be letting go of that ribbon. I'm gonna keep it clamped in and only move my thumb when I'm adding another section. So it's held nice and tight between the crook of my thumb and my first finger. I'm going to alternate colors and patterns so that no two things are sitting identically right next to each other. I know you can't see all of that, but you get what I'm saying, I'm sure. And you can see some of it, you just can't see all of it. You know what I say, once I get into crafting and I get in the flow of something, I stop paying attention to the fact that there's a camera there, and the creator in me just wants to run with it. So that's kind of what was happening here. You know what I mean if you craft, right? You get it. So far, this is how it looks. All of the loops on the top and the tails are on the bottom, and I'm going to continue to add until I get all 9 pieces in my hand. And y'all, I have small hands, but I was able to hold all this. If you have arthritis, if you have problems with your hands, if you have really small hands, whatever the situation may be, and mine are small, you can use a clamp instead. You can just use some type of a clippy here, a chip clippy, any type of a laundry clip. You can just use that to hold your bundle together to help you manage it until you get it all into one piece. Now I'm still holding this. I'm gonna grab a zip tie and then place it around there. Still holding it. I have not let go. I'm going right around the bundle. Still have not let go. Doing this with my left hand, tightening it down. And then you can let go. Once you get it right where you want it, clip it off, and then you can fluff. Now on these funky bows, I like to start by flipping out the bottom. So I flip it over, put it on its top, and then you want to flip the little tails away from each other so that you don't have any two of the same pattern side by side. This is just going to give it more interest. It just is a better look, just in my opinion, So if you kind of look at these striped ones, that would be a good way for you to know what I mean. You see that I am flipping them all down facing the table, because that will be the top of the bow when we flip it over. So they're all facing the table, right? All those stripes are down facing the table. Now when we flip the bow, now you can see all the tails, all the patterns, and the size, right? So now I'm just going to start kind of flipping and flicking around with those loops. And even though the other 2 pieces do not have wire in them, the stripe ribbon and the mesh ribbon, they really do hold their own in this little bow, I think. Makes a funky bow very easy for these types of projects. Looks complicated, is very easy. So since I forgot to thread a pipe cleaner through here, I'm just going to take a piece of floral wire and go through a couple of layers on the bottom. I'm just kind of threading this through. You just poke it through the weave of that burlap, and it's a perfect way to save your project. I don't know why in the world I cannot remember to put a daggone something in my bows when I make them. I always forget. But there's always a solution. Could have glued it down if I wanted to, but no, I didn't have to. Now we got our wire. I'm going to cinch it around the back and then poke it back into that frame. And it makes a beautiful little bow for this arrangement, I think. Now you can choose how you want to kind of put your frame. Either you can do it where it's sideways like I've got mine. You can do it where the bow's on the bottom. You can make it look like a swag on the top. Whatever you want to do, but I want it to look like my little owl is kind of nested in a tree. Look at his little hair, fixing his little feathers. I could get some hairspray and play with it. He's so soft. And this is how he's going to look. His little limb, his little stem that was in the bottom just weaved right through there. I didn't even have to glue him, so he could be plucked out and used for another project, and I like that. And our little owl, our little wise baby owl up here in this beautiful wreath. So this is a grapevine wreath that I have used for several crafts, and I'm going to use it again. I've probably had this thing for 20 years. It is about 15 inches. You can use whatever you like. And then I have some thrifted picks that are absolutely gorgeous. It looks like they came from Michael's about 100 years ago. There you go. but they're really pretty and they're not frosted, and I wanted to do something that wasn't frosted in this wreath. I've got some Southern Living ribbon that was thrifted. The little snowflake ribbon on the side was thrifted, and then the other two came from Dollar Tree. The bigger ones are wired, just so you know. Now these particular picks happen to kind of give you the option of having them flat on the back, which I love because I don't have to do so much arranging. I start off by poking the stem down into here, but you can see that this is a struggle. I actually cut my pinky finger doing this. I'm telling you, I have the thinnest skin ever. I think it goes along with being a redhead with freckles. We just don't have a lot of collagen. Now I'm going to use a piece of this wire, and I'm going to go into like the center without pressing anything down, and then wrap it around the back. It's so funny. I watch other crafters. I'm not as good about it as I used to be, but I was watching Trish from Crafting Cousins, and she did a wreath that just reminded me so much of this. I just, you know, creative minds think alike, I believe. You should check her out, her and Kay out at Crafting Cousins. All right, so I'm going to continue around here, and I'm just sort of doing a semicircle, and I'm layering them with the stems downward, and then just wiring them down to that frame where they need to be wired. Next, we're going to work on this bow. Guys, this is a gorgeous bow. If you are into bows, you are going to love this one. So we're going to use 10-inch loops. And I think I mentioned this is wired ribbon. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, and then I'm just counting here to see how many I got. So you're going to loop it over on itself 3 or 4 times. And then you can trim it off and go on to your next ribbon. This is some thick stuff. I love this ribbon. Then we're going to go to the next one, and it's going to be about 10 inches. I think I managed to get it a little bit smaller when I was folding, but that's okay. Going to continue to go, folding over on itself. And then cut it off. It doesn't have to be the same amount of loops as the other one, by the way. Just whatever you want to do. So now this one, and this is thrifted also, and I got this from, I think this comes from maybe Michael's or Hobby Lobby in the wedding section. I believe I've seen it when I've been in there shopping before. Really pretty. It's got little pearl beads on the side. Just really pretty. So now I'm going to bend this in half, this stack, and I'm going to take my scissors, try to line my edges up, and just cut into it. You want to cut through that edge and barely into the burlap or the fabric, whichever ribbon you're using. I'm folding again to find my center point. Cut just through the wire, because this isn't burlap, it's thinner. And then this one, because it is so thick, I'm using my pliers here, my little cutters, to just cut into the wire and a little bit into the burlap. So now we are going to start stacking this bow. Make sure that your loops are on top and that that free edge, that straight edge, is on the bottom. Those are going to be the tails, those straight parts. So we're going to take a, I doubted if I was going to be able to get this entire bunch into this zip tie, but it worked. So yeah, you're going to take a zip tie for this one. It's going to take a lot of tugging on this bow to get it all fluffed out. The struggle is real, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is so worth it. So worth it. All the work, and I like it. There's something about touching all that fabric, pulling all of those pieces apart, and seeing what it comes up to look like. Because when you first do it, it just looks like, you know, panels of fabric or panels of ribbon. It's flat, and you start questioning things, and then as you fluff from the bottom upward, that's how I do it, you just start to see this beautiful form start to take shape. Look at that. Already it's starting to look so much better. Now you can cut off those little tails, or you can dovetail them, whichever way you want to do it. Be sure that the pretty side is up, and generally you can flip those over if it's a good quality fabric. This particular ribbon wasn't very good quality, so I didn't even bother with it. I just cut those off. And then going on to the burlap and the other ribbon, I thought those would look nice dovetailed. Give it a little more dimension, and I think that looks pretty. And we're going to continue along dovetailing. You know how to do that. And this kind of keeps the frays out of your bows too, so you don't have anything frayed out. You want it to look high-end, right? And if you gave something like this as a gift, nobody would ever know it was handmade. It's just so pretty. Look at the colors. What do you think about the burlap, the white, and the silver? Is that not stunning? Oh, I love that. I love it so much. Okay, so now we need tails for the ribbon. So I'm just going to stretch out my ribbon, and I'm going to go 18 inches. That's how long this ruler is. I'm going to cut it off, and I'm going to do 18 inches also of this one. And then the burlap ribbon with the pearls, it's probably 20 inches long, and I left it long. That's all I had left of that ribbon. So I'm going to finish it off. Okay, so they're dovetailed, and I'm stacking them. And you can just decide which way that you want to stack it. You know, which one you want in the back, which one you want in the front, how you want it to lay down. If you have different patterns, you know, decide how you want to do your patterns. For me, the idea is to give it some variety and kind of separate it, but to be sure that all of them get a little bit of attention. So I wanted to let that snowflake piece be on top. Taking another zip tie, we're going to go around the center, cinch it really well and trim it off. And then we're going to find our placement on this beautiful wreath. So you can go down low and fill the whole thing in, or you can leave a little space on the side, which is what I ended up doing, to put another piece there. So I'm just wrapping some wire around and tying it and twisting it, and then I'm going to thread some wire through this bow on the bottom, and then put it on as close as I can to the greenery without overlapping it. Twist it around in the back and then press it into your wreath so you don't have any wires hanging out. And again with the fluffing. Yes, yes, you must always do this. Always, always. And for the love of Pete, if you ever take a wreath out of a box, please fluff it before you hang it on your wall. It's going to make so much difference. I promise you, you'll be so much happier with it. This gorgeous little Avon perfume holder. I find these kind of things all the time at the thrift store, and I've never thought to get one and use it for anything, but I'll be picking them up from now on. Look at all the class and beauty in that little thing. I'm going to take some Rust-Oleum Satin Nickel spray paint, and after I give that thing a good bath inside and out, I'm going to spray it, and then we're going to add some of this wax to it. So I took it apart and spray painted the two different pieces so we wouldn't have any gaps, just like that, and put it back together. And she looks great already, right? Wait till you see what happens when you put the wax on it. I've never used the white wax before, but I am sold on it. I love being a plaid ambassador. You get to try so many things, and I love showing you guys different things and new techniques, and this is just, you're gonna love this. I think you're really gonna like it. So I'm just using this little brush that came from Dollar Tree, and I'm swirling it into all of those textured areas on the owl's face. It's almost like a feather pattern, and all around his eyes, all around it, just like that. We'll be doing the bottom in just a minute. I was worried when I did this at first because I thought, I think I waited about like just a few seconds, and then I used my paper towel to start wiping it away. And I'm just stunned by the way this looks. This is absolutely gorgeous. It looks old. It looks like an antique. Look at that. Look how it brings out all of the dimension in those feathers. It's just, I'm amazed. I'm really amazed. So then I thought, okay, this is cool. This is going to work. And I went ahead and did all the bottom too. So all of his body got a good brush of this paint. Well, of this wax. And then again, wiping that off just a little bit. And then of course you're going to have to let it dry. But it's so pretty by itself. I really didn't have to do anything else. But since it's Christmas time, we're going to give him a little bit more. So I'm going to use a piece of greenery that I pulled off of another pick. I'm going to use a little bit of this jute. I'm going to wrap it around where I guess it would be the neck. It's where the bottle top meets the bottom. I'm going to kind of pull it down just a little bit. And then this is actually going to be too big. As you can see here, it's too big. So I'm going to trim it down a little bit. Not a problem. I do this all the time. Just a little minor surgery till we can get this looking exactly how we want it. Sorry, I'm out of range there. I got so excited with the waxing, I just totally stopped paying attention to the camera. So then we're going to tie that on. You can just tie a little double knot. That'll hold it in place. And then trim off the excess. You could do a bow if you wanted, but I really wanted the attention to be on the owl itself, and I didn't want to do too much to take away from his beauty. I'm going to add another pick on the top with a little bit of hot glue, just kind of nestling it down there where the piece of the jute rope and the other greenery is. And you could stop right there if you wanted. But I think I'm going to add a little of this because it's going to help kind of bring all of our crafts in together. They're going to be coordinated. So with a little hot glue, I'm just going to put a couple of cut pieces into the little greenery pick. Just like that. So pretty. Oh my goodness. I want to put wax on everything now. There won't be anything in my house that's not waxed. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to put that piece of greenery down. Okay, we're going to use some flat white paint, spray paint. We're going to use 2 pumpkins they're very sad looking. We're going to take the hardware off the pumpkins and we're going to repurpose these. I'm going to sand off that glitter, and then you have to be sure that you wipe this down, because if you don't, then when you get ready to paint it, it's going to smear black dust all into your paint and you will have a very nasty, dirty looking finish. So I just put a little bit of alcohol spray on a paper towel and I'm just wiping it off really well. Then I'm going to put some dowels down on the inside. It's just foam on the inside. Spray paint. Now this is 2 coats and it still looks kind of gnarly, but I'm going to be putting some more paint on it, so it's not a problem. I'm going to use a utility knife to cut this part of my pumpkin so that when I flip it over and put the other pumpkin on top of it, it will sit flat rather than being like having a big gap in it. It's just going to be more secure if we do it that way, and it's going to look better, I think. Now I know plenty of people say a snowman has 3 parts. He has a bottom, which is the biggest, the center that's a little bit smaller, and then a head on the top. Well, my snowman does not have that. I live in the South and we're lucky if we get 1 section. I have a short, squatty little snowman, but I think he's precious in the end. So to attach these pieces, I'm just going to use dowel rods and some hot glue. I think this is the best. I laid it down side by side to make sure that I got it right where it needed to be and made a mark on the other pumpkin because I had to choose what I wanted to be the top and what I wanted to be the bottom. So there, just like that. Now I know exactly where my center is going to be. I hot glued a second stick in there, and now it's ready to be painted with my chalk paint. So I'm just using some of my Waverly White chalk paint and I'm going over the entire thing. Once it's dry, you can go over it with some adhesive spray and some glitter if you would like that, or some fake snow, or whatever you want to use for this. I like the matte look and I decided to leave it that way because he's going to have some sparkle anyhow. I'm putting some glue in those holes for where the sticks go, and then some all around that area. Try not to get it out where the curve starts because I don't want all that messy glue to be showing. So I'm going to put it back down on those sticks, hold it there, let it dry, and then you can see it sits very nicely and flush. Alright, so I'm taking a variety of picks here. Again, I'm trying to use some of the pieces I already had from my other pieces, and then I have some garland and pit berries and a little thrifted, I think it's a boxwood wreath, also my white paint, and I have this little ornament. Plus I have some a ribbon that's got jingle bells on it too. So I thought these pieces would be good arms. So I've just got him balanced here, holding him still with some paint bottles, and I'm going to use these branches for arms.
push them in there, trying to get it kind of even. And I think that looks pretty good. And then once his arms are in, it makes it a lot easier to work on him. Okay, so yeah, I think I like them. I'm just going to go ahead and push them all the way down and keep them there. I have those other little willow branches, but I don't think they would show up very nicely. It almost looks like he's a snow angel, doesn't it? Almost looks like wings. Okay. Now, you can use a little wreath like this if you have it. He's not going to have a hat. He's going to have a little wreath on his head because I think he's so cute. And this kind of makes him look a little more angelic as well. But he needs some snow. So I'm going to take that white chalk paint and a chippy brush and just dab it all over the top, on the inside and the outside. I'm not looking for a complete coverage here. This is just to look like the snow fell on it, like the rest of the things that we're using. Look at this gorgeous ribbon I got at the thrift store. It's like a burlap ribbon and it has rusty jingle bells. It's just perfect. Love it. I'm going to add some hot glue to the bottom piece and a little bit in between to hold his little scarf, and then trim up the little piece here and there. And it makes a great little scarf. What do you think? So far, so good. He's going to look so much better. Okay, so I'm going to cut off one of these bells because I know that I want that ornament to go in that spot. I'm going to put a piece of that willow branch right there, and I'm going to add my bell back just kind of to the side a little bit where you can still see that it is a bell. And I think that's cute. I'm going to attach it down with some hot glue, and it does stick very nicely to the burlap. I'm just trying to center it somewhat. Doesn't have to be perfect. This garland was a pain in the behind. So I would really recommend that you just get some of that scatter that you can get at Dollar Tree that's got all that different stuff in it. It's going to be a lot easier for you. Then I'm going to take some of the pitberry after I have glued these pine cones down and just kind of wind it around and around until I get as much coverage as I like. I'm not trying to get it super tight. I like that it's standing up in some places and poking out. My little berries are poking out, and I'm totally fine with that. And this is how it looks. Cute. We're going to put some hot glue on the back of it and just put it right down on his little head. You got to hold it there for a minute to make sure that it dries. I really like the coverage of that chalk paint on there. Made a big difference. Alright, so I'm just going to add a pine cone, and I'm going to take some of these willow branches that I cut down, and I'm just twisting them together. And I'll make two of these little bundles and put them on either side. I know you can't see very good from here, so I'm just going to talk you through it. See there? Just going to tuck it in on that side. We're going to do the same thing with another little bunch on the other side. Just like that. A little hot glue is going to help you hold those in place. I'm going to cut another one of these in half. And put those right in there also. And then I have a couple of these little twisted pieces of the pitberry that I, wrapped around a pencil. You've seen that before. I'm going to do that on both sides and add another pine cone on the other side of that little rusty bell. I have a snowy boxwood pick. It matches his crown, so I think that it would look pretty nice down here on his little badge, his Merry Christmas sign that he is wearing. Now we're going to pick eyes. We have a variety of beads and pieces that we can use. I think the little wood pieces will work. And wouldn't it be precious if he had a little pine cone nose? Perfect. Look at that. That is perfect. So we're just going to glue everything in place. And this is our little snow person. Isn't he sweet? Or a little snow angel, it could even be. This is how he looks. So you can see all the supplies we're going to be using. I've got some picks. I have a little stuffed snowman with the little fur. And these jars came from Dollar Tree. Can you believe it? These canisters, they're really, really good. Then I have some of this little miniature greenery stuff and some snow and a glass plate. Okay, so I'm going to use this satin nickel spray paint and do the plate of these tops. I'm going to let those dry. I'm going to take this sheet of styrofoam, and it's about the same depth as the neck of my jar, so it's perfect. I'm just going to press down. I don't want to have to guess here. I want it to be a nice snug fit because I don't want to have to glue this in. And I'm just going to press down until I get to my tabletop. And I started off by using my metal ruler here just to kind of score it, cut some little lines in here so it would be easier to work with the pieces. Works really well for cutting things. And then I started by taking my ruler and just kind of cutting down in there, and then decided just to go up and down all around to get my circular shape. Okay, so once it is popped out of its form there, you're just going to rub off the little edges. They'll be kind of fraying. And then we're going to cover those with a sheet of this faux, it's like a snow fabric or a batting material. So this is going to stick pretty well without any glue, so you really wouldn't have to use it. But just for security reasons, I went ahead and opened mine back up, sprayed a little bit, and then put them back down in the same shape. Now be sure that you have windows open, doors open, a fan going, or that you do this outside in a well-ventilated space. Now I'm going to put some on the top of these as well and take some of that snow. You can get it like a white, which is what I have. Alright, I'm just sorting through to see what I want to use. So I'm going to take a piece of this wire that I already had. It came off of a floral pick that I used before. And I'm going to take the skinny wire part and just poke it right into the fabric. We have to have a way to secure this snowman and make sure he doesn't pop off of our little base when we put him together. So I'm just doing the same thing on both sides, putting the wire side down first, trim it down so he's got some little stilts, and then press it straight through the fabric. It's really easy to puncture through that fabric, by the way. No worries about that. Okay, so he's down, and now we need to add some hot glue underneath. And while I have him, because his bottom is so thick and so round, I have to put quite a bit of glue and then hold him down there till he's completely dry. Again, with the pitberry garland, I'm going to make a little circle with a couple of loops, and we're going to put it down over his arms, making sure again that it stays on that base and does not go off of the base. And I'm going to put that down at his feet, and then we're going to make almost like a little wreath circle to go around him. So I'm just going to lay these pine cones one at a time, all in the same direction, all the way around. Just like this. So you can see the little pit berries sticking out underneath. I like them. They look snowy to me. It looks perfect. Just going to go around and around here. Okay, so we're going to continue around just like this until the circle is complete. You can use anything you want to use here. You can use little iridescent pom-poms to look like snowballs, or just anything you want. And so that part is finished. I like it. And I'm going to add 2 of these little trees. And these are just little white trees that you can get at Dollar Tree or at Target, Bullseye's Playground, whatever. And you can just cut them because they're on wire, so you can make them smaller if you would like. And I've used a larger one and a smaller one. And then I'm going to twist around just a little dowel rod that I have here to make a little twisty, like a snowy branch. I'm going to add some hot glue and tuck that right inside behind the tree, and it's going to stand up right by his little hands or his little arms. Cute. They almost look like a little heart, don't they, on the top? And again, just kind of looking all the way around to see what else I want to add. I'm going to add one more right to the front, right behind the trees and on top of the pine cones. And he is just too precious. It might be a she, who knows? Now I'm going to disassemble this because I need 2 wood discs, so I'm just going to take this apart. And then I'm going to spray paint them with the same paint. So now we have to assemble everything with our snow globes. Alright, now it's time for the snowman. We're going to put him in carefully, making sure you get his arms in there because the mouth of the jar is the smallest diameter. So I'm just tucking as we go along. He fit in nicely. Got plenty of room there. Always check before to make sure that your items are going to fit. So just, check it out first. Now I'm just going to press it in, screw that lid down nicely. And when you flip it back over, this is how this one looks. You can put extra snow in if you want to, but I did not need it for mine. I like it like this, and the one at Bath & Body Works did not have loose snow in it either. Alright, so I'm taking that plate, it is upside down, and I am placing the bottom of the jar, which is now the top, right on top. Give it time to dry. So I'm trying to support that plate on there to make sure nothing happens. And I'm going to add a wooden disc on the bottom of this one. Well, it will be the bottom now. Just to make sure that both of my items looked, like a pair. I'm going to take the rest of that little piece of rope and go around right in the center, right around where the little crack is between those, and a little bit of glue here and there just to make sure it doesn't move. And instead of tying this off, I'm just going to make it just loop around, and that's all. I've got some really pretty, this is like a metallic looking, almost like a ladder, that I'm going to add right underneath the plate at the top of this jar, because I want to add something else, and I need something to adhere the two things together, to hold it, make it a little more stable. So when you glue to glass, it can be difficult. Things like to pop off. So I'm going to go all the way around with a little bit of glue so that I don't make a mess. Glue a little bit onto the plate, a little bit onto the jar or the canister, and just keep going around just like that. Now it's going to cut off in a minute, but don't be concerned, because I promise you at the end of the video you're going to see the full effect. You'll be able to see it for what it is in the end. Okay, so I'm going to continue around, and this is how it looks, and you could certainly leave it this way, but I got these icicle garlands at the thrift store, and I thought, you know what a perfect place to put these. So now the hot glue on the ribbon will hold these little plastic icicles nicely in place. And you can certainly use Gorilla Glue or whatever type adhesive that you like. Be sure you subscribe if you're enjoying this video. I would love to have you as part of my YouTube family. So here is this candle, our little snow globe with the candle on top. Definitely use flameless candles. So I chose this little polar bear from Dollar Tree, and there are several different types that you can choose from. They're itty bitty, just tiny little things. Some snowflakes from Dollar Tree. These I've had in my stash for a while. Some of these snowy willow picks, also from Dollar Tree. Some cedar picks. And then these are two little pieces of scraps that I had. So we're going to start off with this beautiful little white planter. And I did not check mine when I got it out of the box, and you can see there's a chip right there. So be sure that you check yours. I was just in a rush. You're going to use some floral foam to put down on the inside. Just cut a piece that's relatively the right size. And then you can just use a metal ruler or a knife to carefully remove and make it flat right on the top. Just like that. Very easy. This foam is kind of messy, so you're going to have to be sure you wipe this all back off. Clean off your surface before you go forward, or it will stick on everything. So I'm just going to start with this snowy pick and put it down in here. I'm trying to get an idea of how big I want this to be, and I think that overwhelms the size of that little planter. So you can pull it apart, bunch it together. You can use some floral wire if you want to connect it, but I think that doing it this way is going to give me the right height that I'm looking for. I'm just going to cut apart a few of those little branches there. Very easy to alter these pieces. You just use your wire cutters or your scissors. And then cut those pieces off. You want to be sure that you're going to have some variety of height. It's just more interesting instead of everything being exactly the same, matchy-matchy. It's not like that in nature, so we don't want this to look landscaped, in other words. We want this to look woodsy, rustic, and, kind of woodland. That's how I like to do it. But you can always do it the way you like. Now you want to be sure that you cover up that foam on the inside, so it just looks better that way. And if you use full enough pieces, you can certainly cover that up. I just cut a piece down and then put it right there, and it also helps kind of disguise that chip. Same goes with these gorgeous glittery picks. You will see in my crafting I don't do much glitter, but I think that it is appropriate, in the wintertime and at Christmas time to use a little sparkle, just like snow sparkles, right? Okay, so then we're going to make a pick with these. I don't want this to look flimsy, so I'm going to just layer these two together. And cut your little strings off, because these are actually sold as Christmas ornaments. You can use the little clear ones that you can see up there in the right hand corner if you want, whatever you want to use, but I like the silver for this. So I'm just going to use some hot glue and a pick.
I'm going to use some Krylon Fusion hammered copper paint. This is a spray paint. I'm using some matte Mod Podge and a squeegee. Of course, we're going to need a paintbrush. I like a flat brush. And then we're going to use a piece of another bag. And this piece that I thrifted, someone else had worked on. Hello. Hello. And it is about a 12 by 12. But you can use the little wood pieces from Dollar Tree if you want to. They have little hanging wood signs. This is just for inspiration for you so that you can take that inspiration and make it your own. We're going to take that hanger off, put it aside because we'll use it again, and spray paint that copper. I used 2 coats of that and left it outside to dry in the sun. And now I am going to start tearing my print out. The main focus is going to be this house here on the bottom, the larger house. And I am going to tear the edges so that I've got some white showing through so that it looks like an old piece. And we're going to age it even more after we get done getting all the little pieces torn off until we get more of a natural shape. Go all the way around. And then I had some pieces just look too long to me, too big. Didn't look like it was proportionate, so I just went ahead with my scissors and trimmed off little bits of it. I need to make sure that this is going to fit on the hanger that I chose, or that metal sign. Okay, so it's outside still drying. I'm going to take my little finger dauber and I'm going to go around the edges and put some wax on the edges. This is a gel wax. I believe I showed you the bottle, so you'll know that you can get some of this off Amazon if you would like. It's kind of pricey. I think I paid $20, I think, for the jar, but a little bit goes a long way, and that is a big jar. Doesn't have the most delectable scent, but neither does that Rub and Buff. But I love the results of it, so I'm gonna enjoy using this. So now I'm going to put the hanger back in. You see that beautiful copper underneath there. I'll stick it back through there, and then I'm going to shorten it just a little bit by moving that knot down some. So my knots are in the front, but of course you can put your knots in the back if you would like. I'll trim that off close to the knot, but not too close. I don't want it to slip through. I'm going to use a stick to kind of fray the ends, and then I'll trim it off so that the knots look pretty similar. And now we need to put this print on that copper. It just really pops, I think, on that copper. And y'all know, if you've been here any length of time, how much I love fall and how much I love the fall and warm tones and earthy tones. So I decided that the copper would be perfect for this. I'm going to move that all the way around this entire thing. Not just in the middle, but on the outside as well, or the outside edges. Just because when you put on Mod Podge over a paint, it changes the look of it, like the final finish of it, and I don't want some of it to be matte and some of it to be a bright copper. You'll know what I mean if you've done this before, but take my word for it. If you have not done it and you're new to it, do the whole thing. Now I'm using a different squeegee for this just because I want to show you, you got options. You can do different things. And I'm going to go over this and drag that. You want to make sure that it's not starting to dry yet, or it'll make bubbles and little weird looking whatevers. Just move quickly is what I'm getting at, because it'll start to dry pretty quickly. And I'm going to go over the whole thing and make sure that all of those edges are sealed down in there. Sometimes they'll try to peel upwards, but just be sure that you push them down. And then I am going to go back over it, the whole print there, and some of the edges also, to lock it in to that piece of metal sign. Could be overkill. I don't want it peeling off. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But look how that yellow and the gold from the windows just shines through. Oh, I love it. I am using my heat tool here, and I'm going to give it a quick dry. And while I'm drying it, I'm taking the time to consider what else I can do on this to make it beautiful and make me just love it so much. I really want to bring out the color that's on there. So you've got options for embellishments. These are some I thrifted, but use whatever you find at Dollar Tree is totally fine. I'm going to take some of this pearl white. It's kind of metallic, but it's also white, so it kind of reminded me of snow. And I want to bring out the snowy areas on this house just to brighten it up a little bit. I'm mixing the heck out of this because if it sits for a while, it gets almost like an oily type residue where it separates. So just be sure when you're using metallics that you really mix them well. Any paints really, but metallics definitely. You see the little shimmer to it? And I'm just going to go over the areas where we already have, it looks like the moon reflecting off of the snow. The light is reflecting off. And the areas that the snow would fall, like over the tops of the windows and on the ground and on the sides of the little garden area or the side of the house where the stonework is. You can kind of use your imagination and change it a bit. I'm also going to go over the snowman's body and just kind of highlight that as well. And Mrs. Snow Person, Snow Woman. And then right there on that edge of the little, I don't know if that's like a stone wall or if that's part of the house. I'm not entirely sure. But I'm trying to make sure that that it has like a rounded appearance. I'm not using a round brush. This is a flat, thin brush. But I'm trying to sort of drag it downward so it gives it more of an appearance of maybe a snowdrift. Smooth on the top, right? Then I'm going to go over the walkway also with a little bit of highlights. And I know it looks crazy right now. It's a little bright right now, but we have more we're going to do to it. So just stay with me. Don't doubt me yet, people. Give me a chance. And then you're just going to do that wherever you want to on here, just to brighten it up a little. And it does make a huge difference. But this is just part of the layering that we're going to do on here. We're also going to take some beautiful white iridescent glitter, and we're going to put snow on here because we're using the side of the bag that does not have glitter on it. Once it's dry, I'm going to start adding a little bit of clear school glue. You can use your Mod Podge. You can use whatever you want to use. Something liquid and sticky. So you're going to put this all over, and then I'll use a brush to kind of pull the line down. I want it to be nice and smooth on the top, so by making that line and just pulling the bottom down onto the roof, it gives me like a rounded line. I hope that makes sense, that you can see what I'm saying. You can understand what I'm saying, because I'm not a trained painter, obviously, and I don't have all the terminology for that. But to make a straight edge on the top, I made a line and then pulled the bottom down. And that's what I'm doing here. And then on right above the windows, I'll pull that upward. And then I'm going to have essentially the whole roof, but not the windows and not the fireplace, are going to have snow on there. Look how pretty. And this is iridescent, but it is really pulling green right now in the camera. I can see that. But hey, maybe it's just the moonlight. Who knows? I put that all over there, and I put some on the walkway, and of course snowmen have to have some of that too, don't they? If you wanted to go back over your snowman with some green where his sweater is, or some black glitter, or you wanted to put some yellow glitter on the windows, you could just really make this fun to make it your own. But I think this did the trick, and I absolutely adore how this looks. So if you have a bag that does not have glitter on it, or you've already used the glittery side and you want to make it, I mean, it's Christmas. We can get away with glitter at Christmas, can't we? I think we can. Then I'm just tapping the excess off of it, and you can just you can kind of let that dry if you want. I like to take a dry brush and take the glitter off of the parts that were not intended to be glittery. This is just, it's almost like I'm sweeping off where there's no glue anyway. so it cleans it up. And like around their eyes and around their little carrot noses, I have to clean that up because you won't be able to see those details if there's glitter sitting on it, because you know it sticks to everything. But you get the idea. Very pretty. Now these little cutouts that like I said, I thrifted these. It looks like they came from World Market originally, but you can even use Christmas tags that are the little snowflakes that you can get. Use your imaginations. You can use buttons on here. You could use snow. You could use whatever. If you wanted to do a gingerbread theme, you can take a white metallic marker or a white marker, and you could decorate this. You can put little dots on here. You could make it look like it's quilted and put like a stitch line on it. You could just I'm just bringing you some inspiration. This doesn't necessarily go with what I was originally doing, but I want you to see. You can play around. And it's just paint. You can always paint back over it if you don't like it. You could bead the outside of it. Totally up to you. But that's how this one looks, and I'm very pleased with it.